Anything going on there?
No, just a check-up. Just obviously early on the year, obviously I hurt my foot. They just wanted to check that everything was all good, and I think I'll be doing that monthly, which sitting there 12 minutes by myself, trying not to fall asleep. But all good.
10 rounds in, how's the body feeling?
Yeah, good. I was not lucky enough, but I didn't play the first 3 rounds, and then I had COVID one of the weeks. So I think I played 6 games this year, and body's doing really well. It's getting better each week. I'm sure the other boys are a bit sorer than I am, but personally, I'm feeling really good and looking forward to attacking the second half of the season.
Yeah, another win on the weekend. The Roos, they put up a pretty good account of themselves, but what did you make of it out there on the night?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we knew that it was going to be a fight. I think that's probably one thing that we've noticed, especially this year, but even last year, when you're sitting sort of high up on the ladder, teams do tend to circle the game and want to come hard at you. And I think that the maturity of the group so far has been really first class at that. But they were a really good footy side. Their intensity and their contests were really good. I thought that I think we ended up having sort of 74 inside 50s, which for us is a huge number. So I think that the way that we played probably didn't reflect as much on the scoreboard in terms of our final score. I think we kicked 16 points again or something like that. So we'll work on that. But in terms of the opposition, North Melbourne were up for the fight, which was great.
Yeah, a couple of late outs before the game, Viney and Harmsy. Do you know what's going on with those two?
I think Harmsy was out early on the week. He hurt his hamstring in the West Coast game, but he's probably running around today. Small hamstring strain's not a good thing. You get to run straight away. But Vine just had some hamstring awareness, and hopefully touch and go this week. But he's a pretty important part of our side, so I'm looking forward to playing with him if he gets his chance this week.
Have you spoken to Ed Langdon? He had a bit of a scare as soon as he went to hospital.
I haven't spoken to him personally this morning, but I did see him out there, which, if you look at that, it's a pretty good sign. And he was pretty sore and sorry. Ed, he's a tough customer. You probably would have seen a couple of weeks before he got 2 pretty big collisions in the St Kilda game, and he could just get straight back up. For a player that's considered an outside wingman, he's pretty tough. But it was great to see him here today, and I think his health's probably first choice for us, and the thing that we're most worried about. But he looks like he's in good spirits.
A bit of commentary, namely as well from Gary Lyon, a former club great, about the level of umpiring, perhaps that there might have been a bit of favourable umpiring towards the D's on the night. As a player, how did you feel about how some of the calls went?
Oh, to be honest, I don't really notice too much of the umpiring throughout the game. I think as a player, you're pretty focused on what's happening out there and what your role in the side and the team's objectives are. But I haven't really noticed anything about our game. That's actually quite surprising that there has been some commentary about some bias towards us. But I think umpires just see what they see and they pay it, and they're like players. They make mistakes, and in the end, if we keep criticising them and keep giving it attention, it's obviously going to get talked about more. But for me, I didn't really notice any bias or anything. I think that's a pretty strong word.
More broadly, though, do you think that there still needs to be a level of clarity achieved as to what is and isn't allowed? Some of the dissent calls that are and aren't being paid, that Taron Thomas tackle, for example, some people are thinking that it wasn't even worth a free. What do you make as to where we're at on that front?
Yeah, I think you always strive for continuity and consistency, but as I said before, I think people are going to make mistakes, and umpires are the exact same. But some of the dissent ones, you sit there as a player and you go, oh, that could have been paid, that couldn't have been paid. But in the end, it's purely up to the umpire and what he or she thinks that is dissent towards them. And I think from what I've gathered, and if I get a free kick against me, I'm just going to put my hands up and accept it. But at the same time, it's an emotional game, and sometimes that you get frustrated at your teammates because they've given away a 50 that in previous years wasn't 50, but you've got to understand that it's an emotional game. You're out there trying your absolute hardest, and the consequences of losing or giving away a free kick could be cost the game. So I think it's just got to find that balance.
Umpiring dissent aside, there's obviously a clear interpretation that particularly with dangerous tackles and so forth, that's been a huge talking point during the week.
Yeah.
Is there a concern that maybe that tough element of the game does go out of it a little bit when you start wondering what is a dangerous tackle, what is a legal tackle?
Look, I think that our game is pretty tough as it is in terms of the contact that players get most weeks, and the tackling stuff. I think that it's purely designed to protect players. And I know that I'm repeating myself, but sometimes people make mistakes. I know that probably the Dylan Grimes one on, I think it was Ben Hobbs, I think that's probably the most talked about one. And sometimes if you just see something that's forceful, the umpires are going to blow their whistle. But I don't think the tough element of the game is ever going to go out of it. You see players get, go back with the flight. I think it was Jai Caldwell the week before. Like it's a tough game, but the tackling stuff is purely designed to protect the players' heads or the concussion, because it is such a important part of our game. So I don't think you ever see tackling gone out of the game, but that sort of two-way action is definitely something that the umpires and the AFL want to stand out.
Sorry, are we going overboard on player protection, Jake?
How
protected do you need to be?
Yeah, look, I think that when you put your hand up to play footy, you know that you might get injured or you might get hurt. But I think, as I said, probably the two-way action of a tackle is the one that the AFL want to stand out, and we understand that as players, and we definitely want to. We practice it at training, making sure that it's not a dumb tackle, and in pre-season we have some of those situations with our own teammates where you sort of sling, and we educate players on that. So in terms of player protection, I think that in the end you probably put your hand up, you play footy, and you're going to get hurt. So I think it's just more the things that are controllable.
And just on the dissent, it seems the fans are angrier than the players at the moment. You guys tend to be coping with it pretty well. Can you feel the anger in the stands with the whistle being blown so much at the moment?
Well, I don't think we've actually been involved in too many games that have had the dissent one. Like, I think it's more when you watch it on TV, when you watch footy. Like, I remember our first game, our first JLT or second JLT against Carlton. That's when we found out about it, that umpire dissent. But since then, we've been fortunate enough not to be involved in too many of the situations. But as I said before, it is an emotional game for, and now you've mentioned fans, like it's an emotional game for fans as well. So you can sense their frustration maybe on the consistency point of view, but in the end, the umpire sees what they see. They pay the free kick, and as players, we've just sort of learned to just put your hands up and keep playing the game, because that can really distract you from the way that we play.
Cozzy wasn't out there. Is he all good?
Wasn't he out there? Sorry. Yeah, I think Cozzy's all good. Hope so. He's been playing pretty good the last couple of weeks. He might have asked Selwyn, our high performance manager, for a day off. He's been running fast. So I think Cozzy's all good. He might have got a knock or something. We're pretty conservative with, especially Cozzy. He's a young player. Wasn't much out there today, just a bit of soccer and run around, so it wasn't too much.
New challenge for you guys this weekend. The Dockers coming off a
Yeah.
couple of losses after looking like a top 8 contender. How do you attack that one? You obviously have to be quite cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I've watched both of those games, or bits of both of those games, and probably on reflection, it's been that wet weather that their game style, when it's dry weather, they play a pretty good game style. Like they were 8-1, 7-1 a couple of weeks ago. So we understand that they're a bloody good side, and we're looking forward to the challenge. And they're going to come over here, play at the MCG, which I would hardly imagine they get the chance to. So they'll be looking forward to it. And but yeah, the last two games have been a bit of a blip for them. But we understand that when teams do have that, they want a response. So we'll be looking forward to that.
How does the twilight fixture sit with you guys as players? Does it change preparation or anything like that? Do you have a preference?
In terms of the time that we're playing this week, for me, I live an hour away, so it is my nap does get a little bit skew-if. So my kids have to be a bit quiet for longer, but that's about it for me. I think that we're very fortunate enough to play AFL footy, and whichever time it is, we're pretty happy. And yeah, I like the twilight. On the weekend, the game finished at 7:30. You got to have a nice dinner afterwards. So normally when it's a night game, you're 12 o'clock and you're searching for fast food on the way home. So it was quite nice.
Compared to your teammates, how much footy do you watch?
Oh, compared to my team, I love watching footy. Definitely before my game. Yeah, Friday night, if we're playing a Saturday, I love sitting down and watching Friday night footy. But I think the culture that we've built so far and the last couple of years at this footy club is everyone loves footy. They're all students of the game. I think there's, your outsiders that don't watch much footy. and sometimes you're like, oh, you know, you'll be playing on this bloke this week, and he sort of goes, oh, who's that? And it's like, oh, okay, well, he really doesn't watch footy, but yeah, most of the guys are you know, students of the game, and we talk about the other games and how they play, and so yeah, but I love watching footy.
It's not rare to see the soccer ball out footy training these days, but you blokes seem to love it more than most. You've got a few World Games nuppies in there.
Yeah, we've got Christian Salem, Christian Petrarca, and Clayton Oliver, James Jordan. They all get up and watch EPL very early in the morning, which is phenomenal. But yeah, I think it's just something to, you know, the season is super long, and sometimes you just need a bit of a circuit breaker to be able to, you know, have a good warm up and get a bit of energy throughout the group, because Monday mornings after after a footy game, you're pretty sore and sorry for yourself. So to get the blood moving and everything with a bit of soccer, it's pretty good.